as well. Now we're going to turn our attention to our two guests, and let me say hello to Kathleen, first of all, Kathleen Dearinger.
Thank you for having me.
Gerald, great, nice to see you. We're going to talk about Child Protective Services, and before we start, we want to make sure that we let people understand that we're not talking about the people involved, we're talking about the process.
Right.
And there's some flaws in there that you want to point out. And in regards to that, we will, in the month of June, talk with Lee Collins, who's the head of the Department of Social Services, and if anybody from Child Protective Services wants to come on, we'd be more than happy to let them present their side. But Gerald, I'm going to come to you first. What do we see as the problem here that needs to be addressed?
Well, CPS has become an adversarial organization, not by their own doing, but just by the process in itself. Family court is the same way. People dread contact and dealing with CPS. What's happened to the CPS system is, with the funding problems and such, they've had to redirect resources to be able to attract the funding, to be able to keep the offices going, and to turn over the numbers that need to be turned over. Just like in any good business, if you're going to make it successful, you have to turn the numbers. And basically that's what's happening with CPS, is it's becoming a numbers game.
It's a money, really. It comes
exactly.
down to, you know, if you follow everything, mostly money ends up being the last line in terms of the reason that things happen. And my understanding in our conversations is that basically the more people they get into this system and have on various programs, the more money they get for the government. So their jobs become based on the fact that they need numbers.
And we're talking, you know, people are concerned about the $200 billion spent on the Iraq War. We're talking about trillions of dollars in the CPS system that is being expended. So, you know, to put it in perspective, it's probably one of the biggest issues that's a non-issue today.
And we do have a website. And Kathleen, let's give out the website first, because if people, as we go along into the show, go, I'd like to know more about this. And Sal's got it in the generator, but what website are they going to go for information?
We have several. One is www.myspace.com/OSOLuckyMe. That's OSOLUCKYME. And also YouTube. And same, OSOLuckyMe.
All right, so during our interview, Sal will put those up so people at home, if you get it, want to have a pen handy or something, by all means, write these down for more information. But Kathleen, you've had personal contact with this and some trials and tribulations. Can you share with us what you can?
Well, my daughter's not abused or neglected, and I have been dealing with CPS for the last 5 months. And I've been doing investigative work as to their practices, and I find that they're not family friendly. It would be nice to have them make some changes to where they would work with the families a little bit better, assess the children, get them into CASA sooner, decide if they're neglected or abused, and if they're not, then send the children home. It's absolutely traumatizing for these children to be alienating them from their parents.
And traumatizing for the parents as well.
Absolutely. And I have seen this process with my daughter just get further and further away, and it's very sad. And
what there's only two criteria, Gerald, you and I were talking, Kathleen, you can jump in, but what are the two legal criteria that Child Protective Services can take a child out of the home?
Well, there has to be some sort of abuse. And so what they have to do is decide if there is an imminent danger to the child, or they have to go through the process to get a court order to remove that child. And those are the two ways that they're supposed to be able to remove children. In reality, what happens is they will go and make a determination, and if you meet certain criteria, other than, you know, the neglect and abuse criteria, but if you're going to work with the numbers, it seems, they will go ahead and take the child and put them into the system pending review, and then you have to fight through the system in order to get them back. And that's where Kathleen is right now, is she's in that process where there hasn't been an official declaration that you know, she's a bad parent. It's just that they want her to go through certain processes and go through this review before they make an official determination.
Even if the child is not abused, that seems to be the issue here, is these never-ending classes and case plan. Their whole thing is driven around this case plan, which just keeps being extended, and the return date just keeps dragging on. It seems that they want to have the child in the system for at least a year. And I feel it's because of the funding. They're not looking at what is in the best interest of the child. In my case, it just involves a door that got damaged. Certainly, the welfare and institutions codes are very clear on what child abuse is. You know, there's 3 different types of neglect, and there's 1 type of abuse, and the child was not abused. We're talking about a door.
A door that was kicked in or something.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and my daughter's not in any danger, so why they would continue to keep her and damage her emotionally, I feel that the child abuse is what's really happening now. And I have seen this process with my daughter, with the pain it's caused her. She's going to have therapy when this is all over with. Definitely.
And one of the sad things is we're talking about a hormonal teenager. We're not talking about a 3-year-old that's suffered abuse. We're talking about a 16-year-old that's been around the world, that's had everything that she's needed. She has the conveniences at home. She's been taken care of, and she's in a divorced family. You know, her mother's taking care of her. Her father's out of state. You know, what is there that's going on with this child other than hormones?
And yet this 5-month process, and she's now out of the home.
Exactly, and the thing is that the things that she was doing at home, she's still doing, sneaking out, skipping a couple classes at school. You know, so she's not doing anything different than she was doing previously. Exactly. She's a great kid.
Which, you know, everybody out there has to realize. I mean, if you have a hormonal teenager, it's that quick and that easy for things to flip on you.
Right.
You know, all it takes is one incident where you know, the child gets you upset, you beat on a door, and you know, they come in and take her away because they find that she's despondent at school over a boy, and they take her. That's exactly, you know, the circumstances we're talking about here.
And they put you through quite a bit. I know we're limited as what we can talk about because it's an open case. So we and again, it's not the people involved; it's the process.
Yes, I really think that CPS just needs to be reformed. They need to have another entity overseeing it and investigating, and not just allowing one social worker to take hearsay information, say an ex-husband. I mean, it should not be the forum for a custody battle, certainly, and that's what I think, unfortunately, CPS is turning into, is the new custody battle.
And we're seeing that right now in El Dorado, Texas, with the polygamy cult, where a girl calls in, files a false report, they go in, they swoop in, they grab all these children, and then they don't do anything about the false report. They've determined that they're not going to do anything against this girl that called it in. Well, you've got 100 and some children now into their system that was already overloaded. They were complaining about being overworked. And all they have to do now is determine that, let's say 100 of these children need to be placed into their system. And you know, Kathleen has some numbers here to show you.
The amount of money is phenomenal.
It's minimum of $4,000 a child. You know, we're talking about, you know, a few $1 million here, $4 million that they stand to gain just by keeping 100 kids in that system. And
they take out over 800 and something thousand kids a year. It's amazing.
Each child.
They rip apart 832,000 families a year.
Right, this is across the U.S.
So
and that was the last I had checked. And actually, it's increasing every year. And this is what I'm worried about. When I read their materials, it says expand. In order to get these federal funds, they have to keep taking in more and more children. And I'm very concerned about their system.
And there seems to be a gray area as to what legally, in terms of, is written as the criteria for taking them, and the reasoning that they're taking
going to schools and just taking the children out of schools because they don't have the protective custody warrant, and the child has to be in imminent danger of serious bodily injury. And we're talking about broken bones, serious, you know, not just a door.
I have a list of the specifics
it's
too.
It's just, they need to have more.
Yeah, there's a specific criteria for what needs to be done that they take the children away. And, you know, something that you get into that gray area, for instance, we've got, if you do medical marijuana, they can take your child away. If you homeschool. I mean, I used to do eBay, and I have scales for weighing stuff to mail out. Well, they could, you know, say, oh, you've got scales, you know, you must be dealing, and take my daughter away just on the basis of that and make me jump through all these hoops. And speaking of eBay, I mean, if you don't find what you want on eBay, you can always
go to the social services, their website, www.adoptakid.org. That's where all the foster children are at.
So literally, you can go shopping for a child.
Yes, you can. You can put in if you want a whole family of kids, if you just want 2, 3, 1, and